Okay, hello, it's your boy Drew, back again to review a pair of films. And it's February, so what better to do than drink a little hot tea and have a little hot Oscars talk. The Academy Awards are coming up this Sunday, and the film La La Land by Damien Chazelle is expected to win Best Picture, so on this episode I'm going to look at that as well as another Oscar-nominated film of the musical variety. So I'm pairing a La La Land here with Vincente Minnelli's 1951 film Un American in Paris, which actually won Best Picture in that year, a film I had not yet seen before. Now, I'm not the biggest musical fan in the world, though I can tolerate them more in film form than kind of like musical theater or something like that. But it's definitely not one of my favorite genres to watch a film, and so you can let that color my review a bit. Grain of salt and all that. I did recently, though, rewatch another Gene Kelly film, Singin' in the Rain, which I hadn't seen in many years, and I did enjoy it quite a bit on this viewing, so I was interested to check out Kelly's film from the year previous. But first, let's talk about La La Land. We'll put the T-Man here, back there on the back burner. And I imagine most people that were interested in seeing the film probably did so by now. I do want to talk about the ending a bit, so this review is not necessarily going to be spoiler-free or anything like that. I know a lot of people get very heated about that sort of thing on this here internet. But like I said, the film was nominated for a plethora of awards, and I did think that directing, writing, acting, cinematography, choreography, all of that was pretty high quality, pretty excellent. So very technically well made by Chazelle, whose first feature I also enjoyed. That was Whiplash from a few years back, which J.K. Simmons had won Best Picture for that year, and he shows up here in a brief but humorous cameo. Now, not being a big musical fan, I don't always like the long dance sequences, and there are a few here, but I did enjoy most of them. Especially the opening number, which takes place on some highway out in LA, and it's very involved and detailed. Now, one thing about the musical aspect, I guess, is that there's more songs during the first half of the film, and the music element kind of takes a real backseat for a lot of the second half. There's a whole long stretch really there without any new songs or anything, and I personally didn't mind this because I was enjoying the story, but more traditional musical fans maybe will have a problem with it. I really don't know. Talking about the acting in this film, it's good all around, but Emma Stone gives the best performance of the film, I would definitely say. She plays your typical kind of aspiring actress, going out on auditions and working a barista job to get by. Gosling plays a kind of jazz hipster guy whose friends and family get a bit frustrated with him. He wants to live a certain lifestyle that's not exactly feasible necessarily, and he's primarily interested in style of music that hasn't been popular in years, even probably almost before Un American in Paris times. So really the story is about them trying to make their dreams work in Hollywood while having a few random encounters that lead to an eventual relationship. That's really what the film's about, and as I said, it's excellently directed by Chazelle, who, based on Whiplash and this film, he really knows how to end a movie. A lot of directors, I find, really struggle with this, and honestly, more often than not, the ending of the film will tend to fizzle out a bit or not be entirely satisfying. Even my probable favorite director of all time, the great Alfred Hitchcock, I don't think I'm breaking any new ground saying he's great, but I do think actually a lot of his films have somewhat weak endings, so for Chazelle, hats off so far, very impressive. This and Whiplash. So this one ends with an epilogue that pushes into the future, but to get there, plot-wise, the main relationship falls apart a bit after Gosling's character somewhat sells out to make some money, and he's doing a newer form of music with this John Legend character. And meanwhile, Stone's character is really struggling to trying to put on a one-woman show and not doing well with the whole acting thing. Feels that she's not being appreciated, or it's just too hard. Some people aren't meant to make it, which is obviously really true in real life. She's doing a kind of thing here where it's like we know that the actress Emma Stone has really made it, but she's playing this character who hasn't yet. So that's an interesting thing as well. And then, shit happens, they break up. They do reunite after he gets her a big audition, but we see that when the story does move forward in time, they're not together in the end. Though they both seem to have achieved their original dream, which was to be a famous actress on one hand. You see her picture on a movie poster on the side of the jazz club, which his character, Gosling's character, Sebastian, now owns. Now she is now married to someone else with a child, at least one child, and her and her husband kind of stumble into his club where he's on stage performing. This is what then leads into the epilogue, which is a dream sequence, kind of dance sequence, reimagining what their life could have been if everything with their relationship was perfect, and maybe their career kind of goals weren't as important to them or didn't go that way, but they're together. If you've seen the film, you obviously understand what I'm talking about. I think it really worked as an ending, really resonated with the general theme of the film, and I personally love that they did not get together in the end, despite it having the auspices of a standard heightened reality musical love story. And this film in general, with the dialogue especially and everything, is very realistic at a lot of points, which does blend with some of the more whimsical elements, and sometimes more successfully in others. So there's a whole sequence, for example, of them dancing at the Griffith Observatory, and they start floating in the air, so things like that. And elements aren't always 100% cohesive, but they do work surprisingly a lot of the time for the tone it's juggling. And to get back to the performances, like I said, Stone really brings it in this film with showing a lot of range, which her role calls for more range, and she's acting, of course, but I think she pulls it off really well, and it's commendable. Just kind of her facial expressions and the work she does with her eyes, showing a lot of different things. We see her go from weariness at the grind of everything to sarcastic playfulness to infatuation to humiliation to satisfaction, and ultimately to kind of nostalgia at what things could have been.
I felt it from the first embrace I shared.
That night, our dreams, they finally come true.
And meanwhile, Gosling plays his character with a kind of a detached irony, which I do think fits the role, but maybe doesn't have to do as much heavy lifting in terms of acting. But in general, I think there is an edge of irony to the film, with some of the old school Hollywood dance sequences as well, and I appreciated that, and I think it works to the film's advantage. Outwardly styled like the classic musicals of a Singin' in the Rain or An American in Paris, but with a more modern kind of feel. And now originally Chazelle apparently wanted Miles Teller, which is his lead from Whiplash, and Emma Watson as the leads for La La Land here. And I honestly think he dodged a bullet with that. Teller's a good actor, I guess, but he's a little more genuine, I feel like, in the roles I've seen him in, which worked for Whiplash, certainly, but genuine, driven. I don't see the character of Sebastian in this movie being like that, and I think Gosling's laid-back kind of approach works much better for it. And Emma Watson, personally, I just don't feel like she's, from what I've seen her before, I don't know that she's up to the task of the performance Stone gives here. Now, Gosling and Stone don't have the world's best chemistry or anything, although they have appeared in several films together at this point, or the best singing voices or the best dance ability, but it all works for this movie for whatever reason. I guess because they're not singers or dancers, they don't end up together, so that works.
In somebody's eyes, to light up the skies, to open the world and send you reeling. A voice that says I'll be here and you'll be alright.
It really is on them. It's a true kind of two-hander, they call it. Very few other characters in the movie. So the few criticisms I would have are, the film's a bit too long. I think they could have trimmed here and there, maybe cut down some of the montages, and would have zipped by just a little better. Even though I said I didn't mind when the songs kind of went away for a while, it did slow down maybe a bit too much during the end of the second half, especially. Second act. Also, some of the plot elements, mostly some of the ones involving the Sebastian character and the jazz music club performing and everything. It didn't always work 100%, but overall the film is very entertaining and charming and clearly well made. Now, does it deserve to be called the best film of 2016? I don't know that I would go that far, but it's not like the Academy always knows what's best or anything. It can take years to see how good one film is and how overrated another may be. And with that, I think it may be time to transition on over to An American in Paris. A little more tea in me, though. And talk about 1951's An American in Paris, which I just watched.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This film is kind of right out of the time period that La La Land is playing off of, and it features Gene Kelly as an American expat, I guess former military guy, living in Paris trying to make it as a painter. He gets a bit involved in a love triangle situation. A woman, another, I believe, American woman he meets is interested in him romantically, using the pretext of being interested in his artwork. She's a little older, and he has his eyes on a French girl, a younger French girl, who is actually, unbeknownst to him, engaged to a singer that he's acquainted with through another one of his American friends that's a piano player. So those are the main characters in the film, and it's a pretty simple plot line. Now, I will just go ahead and say that I did not care too much for this film. I ultimately found it to be a bit of a bore, and I don't exactly see why this was chosen as the best picture of the year it came out, although I'm not necessarily all that familiar with a lot of the other films from that year, so.
Gee, I don't know.
You don't know?
Oh, I never thought I'd come to the point where that would be an issue.
Maybe it was the best, and at the time I'm sure a lot of things about it seemed more impressive, and the style of musical that it is was obviously a lot more popular back in the 50s. You know, I can see from the film why Gene Kelly was a big star. I believe he actually choreographed all his dance moves in this as well, and you know, they're in my opinion, they aren't always in service to like a great entertaining sequence or number, but it is very impressive what he can do, and he has a good singing voice as well, and he's a charming kind of guy, charismatic. But that kind of brings me to another issue I had with the film, or his co-star, the French girl, lead actress. I didn't buy her completely in the role, I guess.
The Rockies may crumble, Gibraltar may tumble, they're only made of clay.
I don't know, I mean, to me she wasn't any great type of ingenue, not that attractive or charismatic, so.
She's an enchanting girl, Adam. Not really beautiful, and yet she has great beauty.
That was one kind of issue I had with things. I really felt like he should have gotten together with the older woman, who's a more entertaining character.
I've got a better idea. Why don't you come to the hotel? I can pay you for them there.
Fine, is it far?
Would you care if it were?
better dialogue and everything like that, and she doesn't get as much time in the movie, which I think is a mistake.
Milo, you're gonna have trouble with that one.
Oh, no, I'm not. He's just not housebroken yet, that's all.
When are you gonna stop getting yourself involved with young itinerant artists? It never works.
You know, if I was making this film, I would have done things obviously a lot differently, although I'm sure a lot of people will disagree, because this film is considered a classic, I suppose. Now, in terms of the music, there was really only one song that I enjoyed that much. Is I Got Rhythm.
I got rhythm.
Kelly does it with some French children, I guess school children or whatever they are.
I got. Bon. I got.
Tous ensemble.
And I thought that was very charming. The song was catchy, and I would have preferred to see more of Kelly acting against the children and maybe some other sequences rather than what we got.
Daisy in green pastures. My gal, who could ask for anything more?
Him with the two leading ladies or his friends, or just random kind of asides, like the piano playing friend has a whole kind of sequence where he's imagining himself playing in an orchestra and stuff. That I understand musicals do things like that, and it's not all about plot cohesion or anything or moving from point A to point B, but like I said, I mean, that didn't hold my interest very well, and especially the ending. There's a very long sequence. I was praising the long kind of epilogue with La La Land. That was my favorite part of the movie, but with An American in Paris, I did not care for the closing sequence. Like I said, I didn't think it should end that kind of happy ending between him and the Karan character, I believe is the actress's name. And yeah, the whole sequence did not capture my excitement, and it ended on kind of the opposite implications of the romance there between the two films. So I will say that the film does look very good, I think, for its time period, and kind of that early 50s bright popping colors really works for a film that's supposed to be kind of set in Paris, and even if it's just made to look like that through studios and things. And there are some like very nice detailed matte paintings they use, which look good. So that is one aspect of the film that holds up pretty well. So overall, I would say if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and check out La La Land. I'm sure it's going to win a ton of awards. And again, that's not necessarily a reason to see it, but even if you don't care for musicals too much, I do think it is pretty good.
Bon.
Probably people have made up their opinion if they like An American in Paris or not. I didn't care for it, although, as I mentioned, I did enjoy Singing in the Rain when I saw that, and I think that is the better Gene Kelly film to watch.
Who could ask for anything more?
And that's going to do it for this episode of Drewz Reviewz. I will say quickly here, again, Emma Stone probably will win Best Actress this weekend. And perfectly deserving. I praised her performance a lot, but who I think deserves to win Best Actress is going to be in the next film I review when I do an episode on some Paul Verhoeven films. So join me for that, and it's your boy PodDrewz signing on out of here. I won't dance on out, even though that would be appropriate for the films, but, you know, I'm just gonna... Where's my tea? There it is.